I had been with Emily for 6 years, and we had never had any intention of holding a wedding. It wasn't until my mother's life was coming to an end that her only wish was to see me marry Emily and bring her home. However, on the wedding day, Emily didn't show up. My mother saw me standing alone on the stage and got so excited that she had a sudden heart attack. I managed to hold myself up and called Emily, but all I got in return was a cold, mechanical voice. In the end, my mother passed away with regret. Just when I was holding the funeral in grief, I saw the moments posted by her assistant, Lucas. May the years be looked back upon, and may we share a lifetime of deep affection together. The picture attached was of Emily putting her arm around his shoulder and looking up to kiss his lips. Instantly, my heart sank into despair, and I directly sent her a message. Emily, we're completely over. After sending the message, I deleted all of Emily's contact information. Then, I calmly dealt with my mother's afterlife affairs all by myself, watching relatives and friends crying in a huddle at the scene. I didn't have any reaction from taking off the wedding dress to sending it for cremation. The whole process only took a few hours, but clearly, in the morning, my mother was still holding my hand and gently stroking the top of my head, saying words to bless me. Our William will surely be happy in the future. But Mom, how could I be happy without you? While waiting for the cremation, I idly scrolled through moments and happened to see the moments updated by Lucas. Thank you for the gift. I really like it so much. The picture attached was of the two of them with their fingers intertwined and each wearing a wedding ring on their ring fingers. Only then did I realize that I had actually forgotten to delete her as well. Just right, I directly deleted and blocked her in one go. Just when I had finished doing all this, the funeral parlor handed my mother's ashes to me. I held the small urn and walked away, but I could still hear the staff quietly reminding relatives to pay attention to my situation. I smiled and nodded. After everything was taken care of, I dragged my tired body back home. Sadly, the death of a loved one is not a storm, but the longest dampness in this life. Back home, looking at the familiar scene, I subconsciously blurted out, "Mom, I'm back." But the only response I got was the empty room. Only then did I realize that she had left me forever. The tears that wouldn't flow at the funeral were now falling like rain. I crouched in a corner of the sofa, crying my eyes out. I didn't even know when I fell asleep on the sofa. It must be because the tears had wet the pillow that I slept extremely uncomfortably. So much so that when I saw Emily again, I thought I was dreaming. In a daze, I looked up at her, and she was looking at me with a disdainful expression. Just as I was about to turn over and continue sleeping, Emily slapped me on the arm. It was a loud sound. I looked up and saw Emily looking impatient, and Lucas beside her was putting his arm around her shoulder, wearing a high-end custom-made suit and a famous watch worth hundreds of thousands on his wrist. Although he didn't say anything, he was demeaning me in every way. Seeing the two of us in a stalemate, Lucas immediately looked at me provocatively and said sarcastically, "Sorry, Brother William. I was in a bad mood yesterday. I was really scared, so I asked Emily to accompany me. Please don't mind if I affected the relationship between you two. Because of me, I'd be really guilty. But no matter how angry you are, you shouldn't make jokes about your own biological mother." My eyes swept over his vicious face and Emily's contempt, and I really didn't want to pay attention to them. I just felt so tired, as if there wasn't a bit of strength left in my whole body. I just wanted to have a good sleep, but I was interrupted. I looked down at the already swollen palm print on my arm, which showed everywhere how much force the person who hit me had used. Thinking of the relationship over the past few years, a somewhat sarcastic smile appeared at the corners of my mouth. I looked up at Emily and said coldly, "Of course I don't mind. After all, Emily and I have broken up." After saying that, not wanting to see their reactions, I went straight to my room to pack my luggage. Having lain on the sofa for a long time, when I suddenly stood up, I felt dizzy for a moment. But Emily just gave me a disdainful look and then sat on the sofa with Lucas to watch TV on her own. It wasn't until I dragged my suitcase to the door that I remembered that I had forgotten Dee. My mother suffered a lot from illness before her death and had been suffering from depression all along, and Dee was her comfort dog. Thanks to Dee's comfort, My mother was able to get through countless nights of breakdown. Even in front of my mother, I wasn't as favored as Dee. My mother used to love Dee, who was a humorous and gentle golden retriever. I could only turn around and go back to the living room and just happened to appear in front of Emily. She didn't move at all, with her hand on Lucas's arm, and didn't even lift her eyelids. Now you know you're wrong. I'm telling you, William, unless you beg me, I'll never forgive you. But I didn't even look at her and walked straight to the balcony, preparing to take Dee away directly. This was the only thing my mother left me after she got sick. She once said, "William, Mom doesn't ask you for anything else. You must take good care of Dee." Seeing that I had been ignoring her, Emily's face immediately darkened. She simply kicked over the stool beside her when I passed through the living room, and it crashed beside my feet. As a result, I fell directly onto the glass door of the balcony. The glass door shattered with a crash, and I fell onto the broken glass shards all over the floor. Blood was flowing out. She just showed dissatisfaction, took the cigarette beside her, and lit it after taking a fierce puff. She blew out smoke rings, pointed at me unhappily, and said, "It's just a dog. You cherish it as if it were something precious. You're really crazy." I forced myself to sit up with both hands and looked at the empty balcony. I immediately became anxious. Dao was very obedient and never ran around randomly. Now that it wasn't in the cage, where could it be? I forced myself to stand up, wanting to go to another room to look for it. However, seeing that I ignored her, Emily's face became even gloomier, and the irritability in her eyes became more and more obvious. "William, stop being so shameless. Okay, it's just a dog, and you're still haggling over it here. I just went to accompany Lucas. Don't look so half-dead. It's just a wedding. We can hold another one for you next time." At worst, I sneered and just looked at her coldly. "Emily, there won't be a next time. It's just a wedding, but it wasn't just a wedding. It was my mother's only wish. Even if it wasn't, how could a wedding not be important? It's just that in her eyes, I, together with my mother, were not as important as Lucas. No matter how trivial a matter of Lucas's was, it was more important than me. During the 6 years we were together, I was always the inferior one in our relationship. Every time something went wrong, it was always me who begged her for forgiveness. Perhaps compared to me, Lucas would be a more satisfactory partner for her and a help for her future. I was just like a cigarette in her life. Process it once brought her a moment of happiness, but now it's just like a pile of cigarette ash. Just like how I had waited for her to come home countless times at night, what I got in return were always the news that she was with Lucas. Just like the messages I sent, they were always like stones dropped into the sea, never getting a response. They could stay together very late, have meals together, and live in the same hotel room. Later, Lucas added me on WeChat. He sent me messages every now and then. Sometimes it was a picture of their hands clasped together, and sometimes it was a picture of them hugging each other. "Brother William, don't worry. I'll take good care of Emily." He really took good care of her, so good that Emily's heart drifted away from me. I just looked at Emily with icy eyes, and my words were completely cold. No matter how small her affairs are, they are the most important. No matter how big my affairs are, they are unimportant. You like her so much, why don't you just let her be your girlfriend? Her face immediately darkened, and when I was about to pull my suitcase and go out the door, she couldn't help shouting at me angrily. "William, are you going to keep this up forever? Do you want me to kneel down and apologize to you? Do you want me to drag Lucas to kneel down and apologize to you to make you satisfied?" Her questioning suddenly made me angry, and I looked at her with anger all over me. After being together for 6 years, in her eyes, I was such an unreasonable person. Seeing that I stopped in place, a hint of guilt seemed to flash in Emily's eyes, and she wanted to come over and hold me back, but she was stopped by Lucas, who spoke up at this time. A smell of meat suddenly came from the kitchen. The bubbling sound was clearly audible in the living room. This was so strange, but I couldn't care less about this strangeness at home at all. I just wanted to find out quickly. However, after searching every corner of the house, I still didn't see it. Just when I was in a hurry to rush out the door to look for it outside, Lucas held me back and smiled at me provocatively. "Brother William, don't be angry. The traditional Chinese medicine doctor said that I've been weak recently, and it's best to eat dog meat to make up for it. Sister Emily made soup for me to drink. It tastes really good. There's still some hot in the kitchen. Do you want to try it? It's just a dog. Brother William, you won't be angry, will you? A chill immediately spread from my feet. There was only one last thought left in my mind. Dao was dead and eaten, and I didn't even fulfill my mother's last wish. I couldn't bear it any longer. A surge of overwhelming anger enveloped me. I directly picked up the broom beside me and smashed it hard onto Lucas's head. At the moment I took action, Emily's attitude completely exploded. She strode over, grabbed my suitcase, and threw it forcefully onto the ground. The clothes inside were scattered all over the floor. William, my patience has a limit. Don't vent your anger on innocent people just because of your temper. It's just a dog. If you want one, you can buy 10 or 8 more. Hurry up and apologize to Lucas. But I was trembling all over and just stood there. Sorry, Mom. What you gave me in the end, I couldn't even keep it. Lucas, who was beside me, stood behind Emily, looking aggrieved, pretending to be wronged, and holding Emily's hand. Brother William, I'm sorry. Don't be like this. Don't let the two of you fall out because of me. He immediately stood behind Emily, looking like a scheming man, which was really disgusting. I'll definitely solve things on my own next time. Don't be angry with William because of me. We all want to check. Annie wasn't hospitalized at all. Don't lie to William anymore. He looked at Emily with a look of being unyielding in his eyes. I sneered and suddenly looked at Emily with a bit of amusement. Emily, do you think I'm lying to you? Emily just looked at me disdainfully. William, I've already asked the doctor. Your mother's condition has been controlled. She wouldn't have passed away in such a short time at all. Even if you're making up stories, you should use better excuses. I stared at her blankly. My mother's condition had indeed been controlled, but on the wedding day, when the groom didn't show up, she saw me standing alone on the stage, bearing the rumors from below. She couldn't bear that her son suffered such great grievances. That's why she passed away on the spot at the wedding and didn't even have a chance to be hospitalized. So looking at Emily in front of me, I felt a bit lucky somehow. Lucky that we didn't impulsively get the marriage certificate when our relationship was at its best. Lucky that I hadn't married her yet. But it also seemed that our relationship had been doomed to end from the very beginning. I was reluctant to part with the feelings of these years, so I had been frantically looking for evidence that she still loved me. However, the longer Lucas had been around, the less evidence there was. Since it was doomed anyway, then why not let it start from now? The place on Lucas's head that had just been hit by the broom immediately turned red, though it wasn't even as swollen as the mark on my arm. Emily also nervously took out the medicine from the medicine box and skillfully applied it to Lucas. Looking at Lucas's aggrieved look, Emily was so angry that she cursed on the spot. After calming Lucas down, the first thing Emily did when she turned around was to look at me threateningly. William, don't be shameless. He's innocent. Even though he knew you were lying, he still asked me to go to you more than once. Look at you. You laid hands on him because of a dog. Do you deserve his kindness? I'll tell you one last time. Apologize, otherwise we'll break up right now, and you get out of here immediately. I sneered and directly bent down to pack my luggage. She didn't need to tell me. I would never come here again in the future. As time passed by second, seeing that I hadn't made a move for a long time, Emily ran out of patience. Lucas seemed to have gotten some kind of permission. He directly strode up to me, bent down, grabbed my hair, and forced me to lean back. Then he put one hand around my neck and tightened it hard. The moment the pain came from my scalp, I immediately grasped his wrist with my backhand, but he dodged it. Until the feeling of suffocation came from my neck, I still endured it and didn't call for help. But his facial features looked fierce, and the strength in his hand increased even more. Emily's voice was cold and shrill. I told you to apologize to him, William. Are you deaf? Don't you know how to apologize, right? You wanted your mother's dog, right? Okay then, have a good taste of that dog. Suddenly, she let go of her hand, took out the frozen dog meat from the fridge, and stuffed it directly into my mouth. The bone scratched my skin and pierced in my flesh. I endured the tears with great effort, but my facial features were distorted because of the pain. Lucas was still not satisfied and slapped me hard on the face. Aren't you quite good at talking? Why don't you say anything now? Didn't you want the dog? Now the dog is in your mouth. Why don't you eat it? Is your dog not tasty? He pressed me onto the coffee table and then suddenly grabbed the tissue beside me and shoved it hard into my mouth. My throat was filled with blood, and I couldn't help coughing. Emily slapped the back of my head and slammed my whole face onto the table. Blood flowed out from my forehead where it hit the corner. If the table, are you satisfied? Now can you apologize? Otherwise, get out of here and never think about coming back. My head hurt so much that it felt like it was going to burst. Lucas beside me, however, showed an aggrieved look. Clearly, he was the one who had laid hands on me, but it seemed as if I had bullied him instead. Emily turned around and saw the scene and immediately became cold. William, I told you to apologize. There were so many wounds on my body that I didn't know which one to cover. For a moment, I just wiped the blood on my face with my hand and swept my eyes over the still functioning camera. Seeing that something was wrong with me, a hint of panic finally flashed in Emily's eyes. She seemed to want to come over and help me. At this time, Lucas spoke in a weak manner. Sister Emily, don't quarrel with Brother William because of me. I'm okay. Brother William, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have troubled you. It's all my mistake. After saying that, he actually took the initiative to walk up to me. He bent down, wanting to help me up, but I dodged him directly. He immediately looked at Emily awkwardly and said with a wrong look on his face, Sister Emily. Emily immediately walked to Lucas's side, held his hand affectionately, and then turned around and glared at me angrily. William, don't be shameless. Do you know how much he has done for you? He was terribly scared himself, but he still kept insisting that I go to see you. Ha ha, I couldn't help laughing out loud. How much has he done for me, Emily? In your eyes, should I be extremely grateful and thank him for taking the bride away on our wedding day? Thank him for being a home wrecker and interfering in our relationship? I should thank him for helping me get rid of a scumbag. My voice was icy cold. I let her scrutinizing gaze fall on my face and stared at me fixedly. She thought I was just jealous as before, but now what I said I would never regret. Emily's face turned livid. She said word by word, William, my patience with you is limited. Don't think that just because we've been together for these years, you can control me. I'm telling you it's impossible. This is your last chance. I just looked at her sarcastically and said mockingly, You with me? When did you ever have patience? Why don't I tell you that it's impossible for us now? Whoever you want to be with, whoever you want to love, is your freedom. Seeing my sarcastic tone, Emily said directly, Freedom? William, don't forget it was your mother who begged me to marry you, begged me to give you a home after her death. Don't forget that your mother is still in the hospital, eagerly waiting for me to marry you. In an instant, the blood in my whole body seemed to freeze. I tried my best to hold back the urge to fight with Emily. Desperately, she wasn't worthy of me sacrificing my life for this. I took a deep breath and endured the pain in my heart with great effort. Emily, how dare you mention my marriage? She just hoped that I could meet a good person. I must marry you. The world won't stop turning without you. If you're not good enough, there are plenty of people willing to marry me. What are you anyway? With every word I said, Emily's face darkened a bit more. In the end, she almost squeezed out the words through her teeth. William, I'm really kind-hearted, but it's like feeding a dog. I was even thinking of arranging an expert consultation for your mother. Now it seems that her health is extremely good, and there's no need for an expert consultation. After saying that, she directly took out her phone and made a call. Cancel the consultation I reserved for William's mother. Cancel it right now. The person on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment and then immediately replied, Sorry, Miss Emily. Mr. William's mother has passed away. Didn't he tell you? Emily immediately said in disbelief. Are you kidding? Passed away? You must be colluding with him to deceive me. I just invested tens of millions for you. After saying that, she angrily hung up the phone. Lucas beside her quickly said gently, Sister Emily, don't be angry. Is there some misunderstanding? Watching their performance, I couldn't help feeling sick to my stomach. The severe pain all over my body was a clear indication of the pain I had just experienced. I forced myself to stand up and slowly walked aside. I didn't even want the things on the ground anymore. But just when I walked to the entrance hall, Emily's cold voice came from behind. "Wait a minute. The matter hasn't been clarified yet. You can't leave here. I promised your mother that I would take good care of you. We can't end like this." I sneered in my heart. When I turned around to look at her, my eyes were full of sarcasm. I casually took a tissue beside me to wipe the blood on my head and threw the blood-stained tissue directly at her feet. "Take good care? Is this how you take care? Emily, since you can't do it, why are you pretending?" Suddenly, Emily got angry. She kicked the paper at her feet away and shouted at me angrily. "What are you pretending? Whether your mother is really gone hasn't been confirmed yet. What are you pretending to be noble here for?" I looked at her and suddenly realized that I had really been blinded by love all these years. I actually liked such trash. Why does my mother's death need your approval? Are you the black and white impermanence? Perhaps the sarcasm in my eyes hurt her. The next second, she actually rushed straight to me and slapped me hard on my already swollen and bruised face. When the sound of the slap rang in the air, seeing the blood on her hand, there was finally a bit of panic and hesitation in her eyes. "William, calm down first. You can stay in this house for now. I'll go back to my home to live." These days, I was so dizzy that I could barely stand, leaning on the shoe cabinet beside me. Unexpectedly, Lucas walked up to me and even wanted to come over and help me. "Brother William, Sister Emily really cares about you." I couldn't bear it any longer. I angered and pushed him away directly. Then I sat on the ground weakly. I didn't have much strength in my hands, but he fell heavily to the ground and immediately started crying, aggrievedly. "Brother William, I really meant it for your own good." Emily saw him fall, but she didn't take any violent action. Instead, she took his hand affectionately and walked downstairs with big strides. After they left, I took out my broken mobile phone from my bag. I turned on the real-time video recording function and saved all the videos of being beaten just now on my mobile phone. Then I walked to the camera and pulled out the memory card used for storing videos. I couldn't call the police right now, but I could wait until the day when Emily's family went bankrupt. I put the memory card close to my body and then used my mobile phone to take pictures of the bloodstains left in the living room and the entrance hall. Only then did I call the emergency number and went to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital and went through a series of examinations, I had multiple scratches all over my body, broken capillaries on my face, a torn corner of my mouth, bleeding at the back of my head, and a moderate concussion. I put all the examination reports away one by one. They would surely be useful in the future. When I was about to be discharged from the hospital, suddenly I saw a piece of news on my mobile phone. I clicked on the picture and enlarged it, and immediately saw a scene of a family having a meal together. Although Emily's mother didn't look very happy, it could be seen that she treated Lucas much better than she treated me. Looking at the familiar signs in the room, I was sure that this was the scene where I was insulted several years ago. Thinking of the things that I couldn't get no matter how hard I begged in the past, which were now easily within Lucas's reach, I still remembered that when Emily and I were on the best terms, she excitedly took me to her home. When I went to her home with gifts, I was ridiculed by the old lady on the spot. She looked cold, with disdain in her eyes when she looked at me. Emily still wanted to stand up and argue, but gradually sat down under her mother's gaze. Now that I think about it, perhaps she wasn't worthy of my love in the first place. It was my love that made her think she was powerful. Thinking of this, I simply sneered. I turned off the screen of my mobile phone and stopped paying attention to the news online. The day I was discharged from the hospital was a rare fine day. I moved in my new home with the only luggage I had left. Although it was rented, it was warm and cozy everywhere. I excitedly tidied up the room for the whole afternoon and finally got so tired that I fell asleep on the sofa, accompanied by the birdsong. Outside the window, I gradually fell asleep. Only this time, no one would come to disturb me anymore. When I woke up, it was already afternoon. After being busy all day, I just remembered that I had hardly eaten anything today. It wasn't until the growling sound came from my stomach that I remembered. I took the key beside me and was about to go downstairs to buy vegetables and cook, but I saw someone who shouldn't have been there downstairs. Emily was leaning against the wall beside her, stamping her feet numbly. I didn't know how long she had been staying there. I didn't want to pay attention to her and turned around to leave, but she blocked my way. I frowned tightly and subconsciously glanced at the still, flashing surveillance nearby before asking, "What's your business? If nothing, please step aside. I'm going out." She looked down at me and said in a hoarse voice, "Are you going out to eat?" I took a step back, looked at the gap beside me, and said coldly, "Where I'm going has nothing to do with you." A hint of embarrassment and guilt flashed in Emily's eyes. This was an expression I had never seen before in a situation I hadn't expected. It seemed that she already knew the truth about my mother's death. The two of us looked at each other silently. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Can we talk alone? I have something to tell you." I cautiously took half a step back. "Sorry, no. I don't think there's anything good for us to talk about." I was just about to find a gap beside me to leave when Emily's figure suddenly blocked in front of me. I could only take 2 steps back and look at Emily standing at the intersection. I simply sneered and then turned around and went upstairs as fast as I could. Emily still wanted to chase after me, but was blocked by the door that I suddenly closed. I directly clicked on my mobile phone and opened the food delivery app. After finishing the meal, I took out my computer and started frantically sending out my resumes online, especially to the rival companies of Emily's family. I sent my resumes to all of them without exception. With a first-class university degree and work experience in a big company, I quickly received interview invitations. So early the next morning, I got up early to prepare. In such a rare, good mood, I even put on a tie when I went out. But I saw the person from yesterday downstairs. I frowned tightly and wanted to pretend that I hadn't seen her and walked straight around her to leave. However, when I was passing by the car, Emily suddenly opened the car door, took my hand, and said, "You've always been by my side working as a secretary. Now that you're looking for a new job again, do you know how difficult it is? Why don't you come back? I can support you for the rest of your life." Looking at her condescending and charitable look towards me, I directly shook off her hand that was holding mine. At the same time, I kept repeating in my mind, "Don't get angry, definitely don't get angry." I simply walked around her to leave, but she blocked my way. Again, "William, don't be angry anymore. I've already bought the house you rented. If you don't want to go back, it's okay. I'll come to accompany you when I'm okay." I glared at her and finally couldn't help speaking. "What's so good about it, Emily? If you're crazy, go and get treatment. You didn't think about making up after the wedding, and now you come to find me again. If you're really sorry for me, just stay away from me, okay? What are you doing playing the role of coming to beg for forgiveness after it's too late?" After venting my anger, when I was about to leave directly, Emily blocked my way again. "William, the position in the company has been reserved for you all along. I was really too impulsive that day. I'm sorry. We can hold the wedding again. Is it okay to hold it in the same hotel as before?" I sneered and looked at her, just feeling disgusted. "Emily, if apologies were useful, there would be no need for the police in this world. Let me work in Emily's family's company. Why aren't you afraid that your mother will trouble you now? Aren't you afraid that I'll frame your personal secretary? You're really disgusting." Almost as soon as I finished speaking, Emily's face turned pale and she leaned on the car. Her lips moved as if she still wanted to say something, but I wasn't interested in listening anymore. Just like in the past, I had said thousands of words to her, but they were not as effective as a single word from Lucas. Since it's all in the past, it's not worth my while to worry about it anymore. However, what I didn't expect was that in just a few minutes, Emily's phone hardly stopped ringing. Basically, she answered one call and hung up another. In the end, she couldn't bear it anymore and directly turned off her phone. Looking at her skillful movements, I was a bit puzzled. I originally thought that Lucas could firmly hold his position in Emily's family, but unexpectedly, he had fallen out of favor in just a few days. But all of this had nothing to do with me anyway. I didn't pay attention to her anymore and took a taxi directly to the company I applied for, the biggest rival company of Emily's family Group S. The interview went very smoothly, especially during the final interview. Sophia, the president of Group S, interviewed me in person. She looked at me with some distrust and finally said, "You're jumping ship from Emily's family. How could I know that you're not coming here as a spy?" I smiled calmly and directly showed Sophia the videos I'd saved before and said confidently, "As long as I can join Group S, then I'm confident that I can bring down Emily's family within 3 years. Suddenly, Sophia stared at me for a long time, so long that I thought she wouldn't hire me. But suddenly, she extended her hand to me. "Welcome to Join Group S, William." I then shook her hand back and officially started working there. With the connections I had in Group S before, I quickly managed to poach quite a number of Emily's orders at a more favorable price at the annual. At the meeting at the end of the year, I stood on the stage and went up to receive the award as an outstanding employee. I have to say that Sophia was really generous in view of the achievements I had made for the company. She directly replaced the original year-end bonus with an apartment in the city center. I was very happy. After all, no matter how much the year-end bonus was, it couldn't afford such a large flat in the city center that could only be bought through connections. However, what I didn't expect was that I would see Emily and Lucas at the annual meeting venue. Unlike their previous arrogance, now Lucas didn't seem to have the innocent look he had before and instead looked a bit mean and acrimonious. Emily was looking at me with hope in her eyes. "William, you've snatched so many of my orders. You're still angry with me, right? I knew it. You still care about me. Would you like to?" Before she could finish speaking, Lucas turned around and walked out. But she didn't care at all and just looked at me. "William, would you like to forgive me?" The corners of my mouth curled up with a sneer, directly dashing Emily's hopes. Emily seemed a bit incredulous and still wanted to come over and take my hand, but her hand was directly pushed away by a big hand. Sophia put her arm around mine from behind and looked at Emily mockingly. "President Emily didn't have an invitation. I wonder how you got into the venue. Isn't the company busy recently? President Emily actually has the leisure to harass our employees in Group S." Emily's face immediately darkened as she stared fixedly at the hand with which Sophia was holding me. She said through gritted teeth, "I'm talking to my own boyfriend. It shouldn't be any of President Sophia's business." Sophia didn't loosen her arm around me. She just looked down at me. "Is she your boyfriend?" I shook my head and looked at her with a sneer, just like the look in Emily's mother's eyes when she looked at me many years ago, full of discrimination. "No, just trash." Sophia immediately understood and directly called the security guards to escort Emily out. Before being taken out, Emily still looked at me with a guilty expression. "William, I really know I'm wrong. Will you forgive me, please, William?" But unfortunately, all that responded to her were the backs of me and Sophia. After the annual meeting, I went all out and directly took advantage of the power of Group S. I snatched away most of Emily's clients. When I snatched another big client from her again, Emily's mother finally couldn't sit still and called me. "You piece of trash, I really underestimated you. I'm telling you, do you think you can seriously damage our family just with these clients? Dream on." Hearing her scolding on the phone, I hung up directly and then added fuel to the fire for Emily's group, which was already in a difficult situation. I went to the police and handed the videos in my hand to them. After watching the videos of me being beaten, the police officers all showed sympathetic looks one after another. One police officer looked at me with concern, reached out to pour a cup of hot water, and put it beside my hand. She held my trembling hand and gently persuaded me. "For this kind of thing, you could have called the police directly. Don't worry, no matter how powerful the other party is, as long as they break the law, it's within our jurisdiction. So don't be afraid. No matter what happens, we'll stand behind you." I didn't cry when she gave up on me. I didn't cry when I was beaten. I didn't cry when I went to the hospital for examination after being beaten and saw the various wounds on my body. But now, the tears in my eyes flowed down like a river bursting its banks, washing away all my past grievances. Because the chain of evidence was complete, the police took action quickly. I reported the case in the morning, and in the afternoon, Emily was taken away by the police. I deliberately went to have a look. I saw Emily's mother cursing me while frantically trying to stop the police from taking Emily away. In the end, she was also taken away by the police for interfering with official duties. After being taken to the police station, Emily asked her lawyer to contact me several times. She even offered various conditions just to get a letter of understanding from me. I rejected them all one by one. When spring came in March, the court session began. Because I presented the injury report and the videos. At that time, Emily was directly sentenced to more than 10 years in prison by the court. Emily's mother couldn't accept this fact. She had a heart attack right in the courtroom and was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. When she stabilized her condition and was about to return to the business world to turn the situation around, she found that almost all the money in Emily's family's accounts had been secretly transferred away by Lucas. She quickly called the police and then found that Lucas had already bought a ticket and gone abroad. When she learned this news, she was so angry that it affected her already overloaded heart, and it couldn't work anymore. When Emily's mother passed away, I went to see her. Looking at the person in the photo who used to be so arrogant and always looked down on me from high position, she had become just a square photo. To be honest, I was really happy. I was even excited. I tried my best to hold back my emotions and pinch my palm hard to calm myself down. I didn't play the song Good Days in front of everyone because Emily had a good performance in prison. When Emily's mother passed away, she was allowed to come out to attend the funeral on special approval. The two of them looked at each other. Her once jet black long hair had been cut short, and even the arrogance in her eyes had disappeared completely. I was wearing the latest style of suit and a famous watch worth tens of millions on my wrist. Any piece of jewelry on me was enough for Emily's annual expenses in prison. When she saw me there, was amazement, guilt, and many other emotions in her eyes, but I didn't have the mood to distinguish them carefully because Sophia's hand was tightly holding my waist beside me, and her lips were almost touching my ear as she spoke. Seeing your old lover makes you so happy. You won't rekindle your old relationship with her, right? Don't forget that you promised me. Hearing her nagging in my ear, I cover my temples with a bit of a headache. Why hadn't I noticed before? She looked like such a cold and aloof person. Why did she talk so much? Seeing that I was holding my head, she hurriedly said in my ear again, "Do you have a headache? Let's go to the hospital to have a look later, okay? I know an old Chinese doctor who is really good at treating headaches." I moved my head to the side a little helplessly. "Never mind, stop talking. Your chatter is giving me a headache." On the day I resigned, Sophia was extremely reluctant to let me go. She sadly held my hand and cried in the office, "I can't live without you. The company can't go on without you. Please don't leave. Okay, if you're not satisfied with anything in the company, we can change it." I took my hand back somewhat speechlessly and looked at her comfortingly as I said, "I'm just starting my own business. There's no need for you to be like this." However, she looked at me with red eyes, and her voice was full of grievance. "Then will you still want me if your business venture succeeds?" I was so speechless that I could only hug her and comfort her softly. "Don't worry, I'll come back." Even though she was reluctant to part with me, she could only watch me leave. However, I didn't break my promise. I really came back, but I came back as a business partner. Through my unremitting efforts, my company finally grew bigger and stronger. It reached a level where it could stand side by side with Sophia's company, and I became her client. This is probably every office worker's dream. I just didn't expect that I actually achieved it. Many years later, I never expected that I would get news about Emily again. I heard that after she was released from prison, after making inquiries in many ways, she actually found out where Lucas was. Finally, she waited outside Lucas's house for several months before she caught Lucas, who had returned from abroad. She didn't show any mercy. She stabbed him 28 times, each stab hitting a vital part. She cut Lucas's head off from his neck and then dug out Lucas's heart with her own hands. After the neighbors called the police, she put up a desperate fight. She took a homemade bow and arrow and tried to fight against the police. In the end, she was shot dead on the spot by the police. I didn't have much of a reaction after hearing this, but Sophia walked up to me, put her arm around me, kissed the corner of my mouth, and said softly in my ear, "William, don't worry about her coming back to find you anymore.